Definitely crazy ride for sure. Absolutely.
It's been a fun ride,
Highs and lows,
bumpy,
but
but the
totally.
number one
Yeah,
attraction
yeah.
in town.
Full-time living homes that might be slightly outside of town, that might be built more for families, are looking for a bank loan to get into a home. And that's the future that we want to be able to change the landscape of Tulum. And Marco helps with everything that we do today, from like every piece of land that we talk about, every new idea we talk about. When you look at those type of numbers, and you think like, wow, Tulum has that potential. Part of my mission that I want to do is create, more super luxury, but affordable full-time living on, basically in Tulum that allows people to move here.
This is the Caoba Listings podcast, where we develop your dreams. Thank you guys for tuning back in the Caoba Listings podcast. I am here with my good friend Erick Rockenbach, developer of Amari Tulum, old-time friend for quite some years now. And what he has done, what his team has done is absolutely amazing. And I am very happy for him to be on this episode. Very special to be sharing this time with you. And well, let's get the story going, no? I
Thanks,
think.
Marco. Appreciate that, man.
Okay, so it's been a crazy ride, no?
Definitely crazy ride for sure. Absolutely.
It's been a fun ride,
Highs and lows,
bumpy,
but
but I mean, we're finally here.
yes, we are. We have arrived. Mm-hmm.
We have arrived.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I'd like to. I know the story. You know the story. I want to have them know what we've done, what
Sure.
you've done, and how it all started with a phone call in the middle of the night. No, having a mutual friend
Yeah.
introduce us over the phone,
Uh-huh.
and now about 4 years later, you have 46 villas, half of them already built,
Yeah.
uh, mostly sold,
Mm-hmm.
no,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, and a new upcoming project, which I think is very important for us to talk about in this episode,
Yeah.
because that's going to be a pretty hyped up project, no?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
So
Well, cool. Yeah, I mean, I remember meeting you. I was July 4th, and right at COVID actually, and I met you through a mutual friend. And I was in technology before when I met you, and I was like, man, it's like I knew the world was changing with COVID, and I was like, well, I traveled for like the last few years, and I wanted to, I wanted to invest my money somewhere, and so I saw Tulum as a booming market, and I saw its trajectory as a possibility, and I was like, well, I guess let's look at possibly being a real estate developer, because I didn't want to just build one home and then sit there and do nothing for the rest of my life. And I was like, all right, let's go ahead and let's change my career and let's be a real estate developer. So when we spoke, if you remember, we looked at stringing together a few lots, and it was some crazy concept, like, and it's wild because, like, I never built a home in my life. And now we're talking about, it was like, all right, we're gonna build like 7 homes or something, which was reasonable. And then it turned into 46 with a world-renowned architect,
yeah,
and super luxury homes, and really defining a new region in Tulum, right? And that's essentially what happened with Amari, and all that. Again, it started with you, like assembling the teams. From the land, even create the corporation, right? Assembling the architect, assembling the accountants, my legal, my everything, and it got me off to the races. And I mean, I'm a gringo that doesn't even speak Spanish, right? So I mean, very little
you're right.
now. I'm all right,
You're right.
un poco. But it's Tulum, you're always told, is the Wild West.
It is a Wild West.
Yeah, and I've heard horror stories, and so having such a smooth, basically entry was incredible, and that's really, if we would have had another entry, it's really possible that we wouldn't be here right now, because we wouldn't have been able to sustain any type of giant financial hit if we had to refactor because of some other loss, that we might have taken on by doing business with somebody else,
Of
right?
course.
So
What you mentioned about exploring a new region, I think that was for me the scariest part. because I had a lot of responsibility on my hands. No,
Sure.
because you were very clear to me on that first phone call.
Hmm.
I have this amount of capital. This is practically like your life savings. No,
Yeah, it
so
was.
when the opportunity came for this beautiful piece of land that Amari is sitting on, it took me about 2 days to contact you and tell you about it because everybody was putting their focus on Region 15.
Yeah.
Everybody was focusing on Aldea Sama, or even before this, everybody was focusing on going like Solomon Bay, Tanka Bay, and all that stuff. No,
Sure.
and it all started making sense after I told you. You were like, "That's amazing." No,
Yeah.
and now it's commonly known as, or technically known as Region 11.
Hmm.
But the way that you and Azul Solimar have um, pretty much renamed the whole area as Uptown Tulum,
Hmm.
uh, I think has changed the ball game. No, land here, you know what it was worth 4 years ago,
Sure.
and after after this trajectory, um, before going into the Holistica area for Cosmos,
Hmm.
um, we were looking for land in like in the surrounding areas, and it was just going up by the month.
Yeah.
So I mean that's definitely something that was that Amari was a big part of
Hmm.
at the end of the day. No, now
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
hype the area, and um, well, yeah, it's a totally different region. Now you have services coming up on 10th Avenue North.
Hmm.
You have the Mayan train 400 meters away, 500 meters away, which is nothing.
Sure.
Um, Optic fiber,
Hmm.
drainage, which is amazing because everybody's crazy about Region 15 and La Veleta,
Yeah.
and they don't even have drainage, no?
Yeah.
And this area, which is up and coming, has drainage, has uh, uh, city water, which
Hmm.
is which is which is amazing, no?
Yeah.
And I'd like to ask you, what has been your experience, not just as a developer,
Hmm.
but as a local,
Hmm.
no? Obviously, being a foreigner, you're from the U.S.
Hmm.
It's a totally different lifestyle. It's a totally different trajectory, and your day to day is a lot different from from waking up in Texas or Miami. You know,
Sure.
these
Absolutely.
beautiful places where you've
Yeah.
lived,
Yeah.
and um, that also putting together the experience that possibly Caoba um, has given, no, or has partnered with Azul Solimar.
Hmm.
Did it make it a lot easier? Did it make was it more difficult, or I don't know, like
Sure.
tell me what
Yeah.
you think.
Yeah. So, well, like I said, my background's in technology. So I had owned a few different technology companies in the U.S. Before the tattoos, and I had been able. I was constantly in front of C-level executives and presenting large deals and had a lot of large accounts with Fortune 100 clients. And so I was caught in the matrix. I was working. I was lived in New York. I was working 20 hours a day, and I would travel to 3 or 4 different cities a week, and it was a lot. It was a lot of hotel food, a lot of unhealthy lifestyle. So coming out here to Tulum has been something that it's nice. You go and you say, hey, I'm gonna go and co-work at the beach today, right? You go and you basically say, man, I've had a lot of stress. I'm gonna go to a sound healing class, or um, I'm gonna go and take care of myself today by doing whatever it is. But it's all about um, basically regrounding yourself, finding peace, and really, loving yourself, right? And that's the core to really being able to be successful in anything you do, is having a clear mind, a clear body and spirit. And so that's always what I talk about with Tulum. It doesn't matter what type of background you have. It's like Tulum will change you or it'll spit you back out. And so it's something where if you embrace it, even if you are a workaholic, even if you are a monster in business, whatever it may be, you're gonna find that if you embrace Tulum, you're gonna do things better, and you're also gonna be much healthier in your life, and you can still keep that same, path, that same Camino. Um, in terms of like how you've helped me, with Coba listings. I mean, again, I think that even today, as an example, we have this new, Amari was a piece of land that, yes, we changed region. We built, what's considered to be the most quality home in Tulum, by many people's standards. And, that really drove a lot of people to this region. They said, hey, they want super high quality. They want, these luxury features. And we also have a minimum set of parameters like drink water from the tap, free transportation, and, lights always stay on, right? So basic kind of settings that we think make the home livable. Uh, but with that said, now we're this was an area that per Marco you mentioned, hey, this is essentially what my budget was back then, right? This is where we were, and now, with this new project in Holistica. Holistica is, in my opinion, the best place I could be in Tulum,
Of course.
and I'm right next to it. And again, working with Marco, who's selling me the land. Marco is, who's helping me with the permits. Marco is, who's advising me on all these things. Who's who am I talking to when I talk architects? Like, even Marco, you have a great eye for architecture. A great eye. Just great all around in business, but just great advice. And I think that there's been a lot of deals. You'll hear these deals all the time. It's like, oh, everybody's like, hey, I want to get close to the beach. I want to, how far, like how far is the land from the beach? That's always a question you're going to hear in Tulum. It's like,
Every day.
well, it's like, well, do you know Tulum? Because the beach
Of
is
course.
filled with hotels, right? So if you want to be close to the beach, you're going to go north, and north, you're going to be potentially all the way up to Akamal, but you're going to be Solomon Bay is very expensive, Tonkin Bay is very expensive, but that's the beach, right? And then you have basically anything close to the beach that is in Tulum. You might be a few minutes away, but those areas are, still defining and developing, which means the title is not exactly clear and transparent. And that's what Marco kept me away from, because a lot of those areas, um, things would get sold, and then there's title issues, and nobody really owns the land, right? And so he kept me in the safest play, because I needed super safe as well. When I came out here to, Uptown, basically what we
Life
had
savings.
is life savings,
You
right? I
can't, you
needed
can't
something
just
that
live
was
in
going to
sin.
work. And he kept me in the absolute safest play that had the most possibility for, basically improvement, the most possibility on upside. And it was true. And so, now we're, right in the path of the airport, which is amazing. He knew all these plans before they came out. The airport had changed plans, but we're right. We have this new mall that was promised, but now actually, building and working really well, which is right down the road from us as the only movie theater in town, right? And we're basically right in the new hub, like literally the new hub of town is 1 kilometer, down, right, where the carretera is, where the main highway is. And we're uptown. We're basically 1 kilometer away from that. And so, but Marco saw this 4.5 years ago, which is a lot, So, I mean, I think, basically you having the vision to be able to see that while everybody's, pitching something else was huge. And now we're here. And instead of being, in an overcrowded area without trees, and just condos stacked by one another. We're in a luxury area with other luxury communities, other homes going in similar to ours, and just totally different. So because of your advice, it's the only reason we're here. And it wasn't like you showed me something that was, let's say, hey, this is what it is for that price. This is like, no, 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 this is the smartest play, in
Of
this,
course.
and that's how you presented it, and we trusted you, and thank God we did, because now we're here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And that has also been passed on to the new projects, no?
Hmm.
I actually tried, or not tried, I asked you to get yourself into condo development, and you were like, no, I'm not doing that. And you're sticking to your beliefs, you're sticking to the style of project that you have ongoing, and Cosmos is coming even harder than Amari,
Hmm.
no? But you're sticking to the luxury villa concept.
Hmm.
which is also lacking in Tulum.
Hmm.
And what better way to do it right? If anybody comes to this beautiful development, they will understand the quality standards that are being um, expected on
Hmm.
a daily basis. No,
Hmm. Thank you. Yep. Yeah, no, thank you. And I said that I haven't built homes. I've built a bunch of other businesses, but so I mean, I have a lot of experience in construction. But I will say that I saw a housing market gap when I first came to Tulum. Obviously, other people have seen that gap now. There are more houses available, so there is more opportunity, as a buyer to look at homes. Um, but what Tulum offered me, at least, is I'm from Dallas, Texas originally, and Dallas has really gorgeous homes. I mean, there's a lot of Franklin Lloyd Wright homes. There's all these just amazing architects from back in the day, right? And the styles of architecture and the quality and the craftsmanship of the carpentry and everything else inside a Dallas home is very attractive. And so, seeing all that all the time and understanding kind of what I want from a quality perspective is kind of why we're here, why I decided to do this. And then seeing the gap in the homes, even before COVID, I saw homes were so much more rental, than the condos, and there was nothing there.
yeah,
And today, living here in Tulum, I would never want to live in a condo. I mean, I lived in a condo a little bit ago, and I hated it. I came right back to Amari, and I just I think that housing is something that it would be great, and my whole plan is to create all brackets of housing. So Cosmos is the best location. It's going to be a landmark project, 24 um, semi-custom, but you're talking, mini mansions, if you will, right
yeah.
next to the best wellness, the really the original wellness and healing center in
The
Tulum.
number one
Yeah,
attraction
yeah,
in town.
exactly, exactly. And well, besides the beach, so
No, but
right,
what I mean
but
is in the
yeah, yeah,
pueblo. No,
agreed, yeah, agreed,
apart from the beach,
yeah,
Holistica to me is
absolutely.
is is the number one place people go,
Hmm.
and then number two, Calle Siete. So you're like right there,
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, you're right in the heart of La Valletta and
of
Holistica,
course.
and it doesn't get any better than that. It's the great area for wellness, hip vibe, etc. And so it'll be a landmark project. It'll basically be what can we do that's the very best, right? And it's a home, it's a forever home. That's what you're going to own there. But on the other side of our trajectory, we would like to be able to offer full-time living homes that might be slightly outside of town, that might be built more for families that
Yeah,
are looking for a bank loan to get into a home, and that's the future that we want to be able to change the landscape of Tulum. And Marco helps with everything that we do today. From like every piece of land that we talk about, every new idea we talk about. You've always been there, and it's not because that's one of the beautiful things about it too. It's like in the back in the beginning, um, it's not like we had a reoccurring, like I was paying you a monthly fee to help me out. You helped me out because you saw I needed the help, and it was because you wanted to see me succeed. And I
of
thought
course.
that was the biggest differentiator that I've seen with you than anybody else I see in this market.
Okay, so we spoke about Damari, we spoke about Cosmos, but there's obviously a very promising future, no, for Azul Solimar, for Amari, for Cosmos, and new projects.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see the future of Tulum? Like, what's your vision?
It's a good question. I mean, I think that you can pretty much look at how much money's being pumped in, right?
Of
And so you
course.
have a lot of money from everywhere going into Tulum, and so it's still growing. It's like basically it's like a tree that you're giving water to, and there's so much money from the federal government coming in, between the airport, the train, the Jaguar Park, all these initiatives. And then you have so much money coming in from investors, so much money coming in from builders, so many big brands coming in. Like you have there's a Mandarin project. There's tons of different name projects that are coming in that are huge brands. I see Cancun and Playa being a good example of what Tulum's going to be. Cancun and is the second most visited airport in the world, right? And
Whoa.
and yeah, it's I think you have somewhere like 33 million visitors a year or something like that coming through Cancun. And so when you look at those type of numbers and you think like, wow, Tulum has that potential because it was meant to offload some of that traffic. And we haven't even seen international flights yet, which start at the end of March. So we don't really know what's about to happen. We can
Yeah.
only guess. But Tulum has cenotes, Tulum has lagunas, you know, a lot. 4 lagunas, actually about 5 now. There's another one opening, and a bunch of cenotes. And I don't know anything that Cancun has other than beautiful beaches and
And establishments.
yeah, and
That's about it.
establishments,
Yeah.
and that's it. So it's going to take time. It's going to take time. Part of my mission that I want to do is create more super luxury, but affordable full-time living on basically in Tulum that allows people to move here and create even super lux full-time living. Like that's
Yeah.
what we're doing in Holistica. But basically, creating a market that supports the future of Tulum. And Tulum is always known for, the beautiful housing, like the shakum on the walls and the carpentry and just the level of quality you see in a home here is far superior than anywhere else in the world I've ever been, to be honest. And so being able to create that world here is what I'm trying to do. But I think that, Tulum in itself has the most potential of any city in Mexico, for sure, and potentially the most potential of any city in Latin America.
And and that plus being able to create um, beautiful spaces with architecture that's totally out of the box. You know,
Absolutely.
it's not like Mexico City where if you do something crazy, people are so used to like the shoe boxes and the traditional architecture that it will sell quite slowly because people or the market is not accustomed to that. But Tulum is a place where you can just blow your mind out.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like what you did. I mean, when you brought, even when I came in to start, you brought Jesus Acosta, and Jesus Acosta and won like best architect, what is it, second best architecture building of the year award by CEMEX, which is the biggest concrete supplier here, and he had gotten written up in Vogue France and a bunch of other things. He's in Dwell and Design and Chic magazine, all this stuff, right? Very very well known architect in Mexico, and you were able to bring him to Amari as our architect, which is incredible, right?
yeah,
And then, so I mean, world renowned architect, right? And just super specific and particular with details. So it was excellent working with Jesus Acosta. And then, again, even going back to your developments, you develop, beautiful, beautiful projects. And I know that anytime I'm looking for an architect, I'm asking you, who do you recommend?
sure.
Anytime I'm looking at architecture, I'm asking you, what do you think? Because I mean, I see that a lot of the things you do, you really understand the design eye here in Tulum. I even I remember even one of my clients that they were about to buy a home from me, and they were an interior designer out of LA, and they bought with you, so they bought one of your projects because it's you really do capture that design eye from the customer's perspective, and you do a very good job at it.
Thank you. And it's understanding the design, but also understanding architecture or which architecture is correct for the type of project that is being developed. If you ask somebody like Jesus Acosta to design a massive housing project,
Hmm.
he's not the correct guy, no.
Hmm.
But there's always something particular of each architect that will fit smoothly and nicely
Hmm.
with what you want to do.
Hmm.
And in Cosmos, you got, I believe, there were multiple architects
Yeah.
that are designing the beautiful homes, and I think that is great, and that's huge because you have one solid project
Hmm.
with multiple options,
Yeah.
multiple styles, multiple um, living spaces, and the way that the space works, and that is to accommodate or meet with different client expectations.
Mm-hmm.
which I believe is huge, and nobody else is doing that in Tulum.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you very much. I mean, well, I I see you doing it, so I mean, I don't know about anybody not doing it, but yeah, I think with Cosmos, if we want to go back on Cosmos, I we're developing, like, we've always tried to build and deliver something that's of true value, right? So, understanding what the client wants, or what we've been told by our clients, and then delivering a great quality product at a very reasonable price, with a great, basically, it's called an irresistible offer. You're talking about, drink water from the tap, and, suburban transportation, hotel level experience, etc. So but yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's kind of like I always build a project for myself, if
Of course.
that's where I want to live. So
What would I want?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's the best you can do.
absolutely. You always have to go in that way. So
Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. And yes, it's because I wanted to help you,
hmm
but also because I saw a huge potential in your dreams and in what you wanted to do. There's also there was also something very different coming, or as a receptor.
hmm
No, everybody else wanted the fast, easy money with condos, and at the same time, when I perceived that my ideas were coming to life through a third party, which is yourself and Akil,
hmm
to me it was a dream come true as well. No, so I think it's mutual, and I think that's why we also have such empathy, not just as two different businesses, but as two human beings. No, again, thank you for believing in my crazy ideas. And thank you for also. There's been a lot of patience. No,
hmm
and and I am sure that this is year 4 of who knows how many. No,
Sure, sure.
and it's an honor really to have you sitting here with me and to be able to do this, because I'm sure that this is also the first episode that we will do out of many.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, man,
Absolutely, man. Well, hey, thank you again for everything, brother. I
it's a pleasure.
appreciate it. Absolutely. And I can't wait to keep working with you. All right.
Let's do it.
All right.
All
Sounds
right,
good, man. All right.
cool.
All right.
Well, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and be sure to stick around for more valuable content on this beautiful channel. Take care.